What's up, Cash Crew, and welcome back to another episode of Cash Talks here today at Dude IDK Studios. I'm so excited to be joined today by one of my besties with two testes. We hope, at least. It is one of my best friends here on the couch with me today, Mr. Brandon Homell today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that he's here joining me. We have a special episode today where we're going to get into all the things, talking about all the entrepreneurship, all the things that Brandon's been doing, that I've been doing, that we've been doing collectively, and just get into it today. So, like I said, joined by Brandon today, I'm going to let him give a little intro to who he is, a little bit of his background, where he's from, and just let him take it away today. So go ahead,
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so originally from Pennsylvania, I moved here, it'll be 10 years September of this year, yeah. So, I guess background floral has been kind of my thing only the last two.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was in all kinds of things. I was in healthcare for a little while, and then franchise development. I also worked for the airlines in like crew scheduling. So, dabbling in realms of all kinds of industries, and finally finding something that made sense for me. So, the floral biz has been obviously brand new and still fully functioning, but just kind of one of those things where I'm dabbling in, all avenues of what floral looks like for me. So from weddings to things that I call floral drops to kind of interact with the community a little bit more, and then more so just everyday arrangements, events,
Absolutely.
Collabs, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, if you can see this video today, I mean, this jacket come through. I mean, you have literally taken things and just ran with it. I have been like watching everything that you've been doing. And as far as like, just like the little creations that aren't so little anymore. I mean, like my friends Michael and Brian that you ended up doing like some tuxedo lapels for, and like just amazing things that you've been able to dabble into. I mean, just these creations alone have been amazing to see. So one thing that I wanted to get into today, obviously, was to talk about your business and kind of the start of it, where you got the idea from. It is called Blume Box by B,
yes.
Correct? Yes.
It's a little wordy. It's, it's
I always,
lots of B's.
Yeah. I always feel like when I'm about to say it that I'm going to say it wrong. So I'm like, I'm always like looking at you like I'm about to say it right. But yeah, go ahead and like give a little intro to kind of Blume Box and the idea, and just give us a little bit of info.
So as I said earlier, about like a couple years ago, I kind of, shortly after the world was reopening, we'll say, just kind of moving through what made me happy and getting back to passion, and that was a lot of just my creativity from past, and more so growing up. So I kind of tapped into just creating something with my hands that was gonna bring people like some sort of joy, make them smile, whatever, and that ended up turning into floral. So it turned into just going to the grocery store, grabbing a handful of whatever, and just kind of playing and manipulating with the product. And I think my partner currently, he mentioned just the joy that it brought me, and he was like, "Why are you not doing this as something like a new career, the new path that you've been looking for, So there was light shed on that end, and multiple conversations with friends and whatnot to kind of really dive into it and just share, hey, okay, I think I'm just like done going through the motions and ready to really make sense of it and dive into something that, works for me. So, hence Blume Box. And I originally, the thought of the name after talking with friends, and obviously I had a convo with you. Something that was going to maybe tie into a little bit of music like vibe as well, as far as reels and just videos that I was sharing. So instead of Boom Box, it was like Blume Box. So,
Little play on words.
Yeah, on words, like boxes of floral. And I love like overgrown, greenery and just filler material that is not like what I call the high and tight, floral arrangement. So I think that's kind of what initially set me apart from most, everyday florists and whatnot. And then, yeah, it kind of just grew from there, and here we are today. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, has floral kind of been something that you've just really enjoyed over the years, or is it something that you kind of stumbled upon that you're like, wow, like, I feel like this might be something that I'm good at, or has it been something that you kind of just had a mindset for, or focus on for a while?
Yeah, no, I think I'll say like art in general, right? So that's, even growing up or, even before school, just being particular in a sense. And also just like constantly wanting to like manipulate things with my hands to create like a different vision of, whatever it is, and just create once again art. But yeah, prior to that was a lot of more so just like drawings of things or just like manipulating things like clothing to some extent, but it never was really floral necessarily. Right. So, at the point where I was like, okay, I'll dabble in, real floral and see what I can do with that. And then that kind of took off from there, where it was like, let me use fake elements and, and add them to things like this, like jackets and whatever else. And just really play around with a lot of that. So no, it didn't start like that originally. It was very much just me wanting to continue to create something, but nothing ever really stuck to the point, obviously, throughout school and whatnot, where I was like, oh, this is it, and this is my craft, and this is what I want to do for, the long run. But yeah, until that moment. So it really it was kind of put on pause for the longest time. And like many of us, I did the whole, I'll go through the motions and do what everyone else wants me to do, as opposed to, what I am passionate about, just to kind of like, make ends meet and move through life in this world. So yeah.
So like you just kind of had this creative brain and place in your life where you just needed to create something, wanted to create something, and then it just kind of so happened that it turned into be like a floral aspect, which is really cool, just like to see and to watch mold into what it's been into. And I mean, as of late, you've been doing all kinds of collaborations. So like, before we get into the big ones, like let's talk about kind of what is it that kind of, I know you do floral drops, I know you do like collaborations with I think a local artist as well, and just where has kind of all of that come from? Was that just something that you were like, I think I want to do this a little differently with my floral, or like what does that creative process kind of looked like for you?
Yeah, and I think it's it's two parts, right? So it's obviously just starting, like anyone else, exposure, right? How do I promote and just share my art and like actually gather some clientele and some, some actual orders from it. And then the second part is giving back to like the community that I love here in Denver. And, I've been here now, like I said, for about 10 years. So it's really that hybrid. So that's where Floral Drop came from. It's just kind of the ability for me to share my art and continue the practice of it with either leftovers, or if I have like a special something I want to like share, like I did the Barbie, like before the Barbie movie I did this like specific Barbie floral drop, so if it's catered to something like that, then there's a little bit of that too, extra cost obviously, but it's all free floral. So it does have either like a promotion or just like a coupon, we'll say a QR code to like, get 50% off, or like, some sort of custom order deal. And so, so that was kind of how that came about. I was like, what can I do that's not, necessarily just sharing, okay, this is, these are my orders that I have available, and like, this is what I want to do. Who's willing to jump in on it? And more so just, there's a note in there basically that shares, hey, if you find this, if you're not interested in a custom order, totally fine. If you can at least like share the love and tag us and repost it to your story or something. And most people have been pretty good about that. Again, since it is geared towards Instagram specifically, I'm not really a Facebook person these days as much. So if it's someone who has other forms of social media where they're not able to tag me, I just chalk it up to okay, I hope it brought a smile and like you gave it to someone and, some sort of spread the word. and yeah, and kind of go from there. So yeah.
Well, and I feel like, I mean, I am so done with this whole Facebook world these days. I'm so over it.
Yeah,
When you were saying that, I was like,
yeah.
oh my God, I'm so over it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you all listening, but Facebook has been on my last forever nerve lately. Like,
Oh.
I just like don't feel like I have a need for it anymore. I think I like literally pop on there to maybe check someone's birthday. Because that's
real,
like how
though,
I mostly
honestly.
remember, because I have so much going on. But like,
Yeah.
or like to share something very quick and like
Yeah.
be done with it. But it's just interesting, the different outlets that people use, and that's not one of mine these days.
No, I agree. I mean, for me, it's more so, family back home and the older generation that's not on Instagram, X, and other things, TikTok.
Yeah.
Bless her heart. Well,
Right.
hopefully she
I know.
sticks around.
Let's hope for TikTok.
But no, honestly, that's the only reason why I keep it, to keep up with aunts, uncles, and, family back in Pennsylvania. But outside of that, and I will share a few things there, but it's not my main source of, trying to gather any exposure. So, but yeah, just not something I hold close to me anymore, where it's like, like the sharing life stories and doing the whole giving us my daily agenda for
giving us everything that's on your mind. No, thank you.
Embarrassing.
I'm good. Oops, sorry for you. But as of late, you've been really teaming up with some powerhouses, like major artists, just as far as collaborating and not necessarily like meeting them, but just doing things that have been huge for not only your career, but just to be able to say that you've been able to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just get right into it. I mean, you've done Mariah Carey, you've done Jonathan Van Ness, you've done now Nicki Minaj, all of the dressing rooms of the floral, of kind of what I think it's basically what they arrive to, what they see when they walk in.
Exactly.
Kind of just like that aspect of it. So whether you want to pick one of those individually or just like kind of explain kind of what your creative process is to get to a point of designing for them and figuring out what you want to do for them to kind of be like walk in and be wowed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like have it catered to them specifically. Yeah,
because those are huge names, by the way.
Yeah. And some more cash. Don't forget about our collab.
I mean, yes.
I mean, come on now. Yeah,
we had a collab too. Absolutely.
We did, one of many.
Yeah.
More to come for sure. Yeah, I think, all three of those have been amazing. So this connection has kind of come about through Ball Arena and Paramount Theater. So I made a connection through someone who found a floral drop box who works for them. And yeah, she just shared, we just love like how different, your arrangements are, and more so being able to, because I pride myself on like custom work, if that makes sense. So it's like, I don't, just create something and then say, okay, this is what I have available and this is it. Or, if someone asks me to take part as a vendor in an event, I'm not sharing, okay, this is what's in stock, quote unquote, or like what I have on hand ready. So, this is kind of what they get, if you wanted to continue on with me.
Yeah.
And, and I've heard that from others, and I get that life, if you have a full blown shop and this is what you're trying to get rid of, if someone's asking you to jump in on an event, that may be something you lean in on, right? And use those specific blooms, material, whatever. But really, they just had mentioned after the first one I did that they just enjoyed how much of it I geared towards, the artist specifically.
Right.
Example, JVN, everything has like box to it to some extent to keep up with the brand, right? But it was over the holidays, I believe, if I remember correctly, like I think 2 weeks or so before Christmas. And so I did like this, green box. It had like a little bit of like glitter and stuff on the bottom of it. And then I took like an old hair dryer and spray painted that metallic like silver.
Which iconic for JVN. Like,
thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, and then I basically just tied the floral to the end of the hair dryer to mimic as if it were like blowing floral out of the hair dryer. So it was kind of like sticking out of the box, and then the floral extended down, another like 2 feet and made this trail of what was floral. just for his green room,
Right.
something so simple. So it wasn't as big as some of the other ones, but they wanted a little something, and they thought he would appreciate it. And so yeah, basically, yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Well, and
kind of
like
that.
your attention to detail with those things has been so cool. Like as far as like how you've catered to each individual, like you could take it and be like any other florist and just kind of be like, oh, here's some flowers, enjoy your day. But like
Yeah.
you cater it directly to that person, like with JVN and the blow dryer. Which shout out JVN, I love you dearly, and
Yes.
my friend B tore that up for you. But also like even with Nikki, like getting
Mm-hmm.
like the Barbie car and like it's just like that extra step I think
Mm-hmm.
goes such a long way when you're creating for these artists or just creating in general because
Yeah.
it does make you stand out and it does make people look at it from a different perspective of like, oh, you're not just throwing some flowers together. Like this is
Yeah.
actually showing that it's important to you, you
Yeah,
know?
and there's actual thought behind it,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
there's a whole process. Yeah, so I really, even if it's something that I don't really know, too much about them, I try to at least do some sort of research, right?
Yeah.
If they're gonna hire me to make it happen, I want it to totally be worth it. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about. And then the Mariah show was Thanksgiving week, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was probably my favorite. The Queen of Christmas, right? Just like this whole Winter Wonderland dressing room that they had for her was something else. So I definitely enjoyed just being in there with other people who were trying to just kind of like create the whole vibe for her.
Yeah.
And chatting with them and them just trusting me with that vision.
Yeah.
So yeah, so some of those have been really fun, and that was obviously towards the end of the year. So then the music industry takes a hiatus for a
Right.
little while. And then yeah, the Nikki one was not too long ago, so starting to pick back up with those.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of just got their word as a when we need floral for someone,
Yeah.
you're our go-to now. And they've the tour managers and everyone have loved everything I've done so far. So yeah.
So what's like your as far as like creation or whatever that you've made, like what's your favorite like floral set to create? Do you have like something like either that be like a specific flower or just like something in general that you just really enjoy creating?
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't done a whole lot of these other than just more so like a collab or like personal
Yeah.
project rather. But I would love to get into more stage design stuff. Not necessarily for a major artist at this point, but I mean, if it came about, I would be into it.
Right.
But some of those meadows, like floral meadows, where it's pallets of moss and all this like overgrown greenery, and then just like blooms, on both sides of you that for either photo shoots or things of that nature.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of my fave element right now
Yeah.
to really tap into. So always open to photo shoots and things, and yes, floral.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I will work with you. And yeah, like I said, it's all custom work. So
Yeah.
I just love kind of having that little combo, even if it's short lived, just kind of help, create the vision. Like someone could share 2 sentences and, hopefully I come back and just, paint the picture a little bigger for them and we, move forward at that point. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be, not a big like everyday arrangement person.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
No.
that's larger scale would be amazing. Like I said, stage design would be, yeah.
Yeah. Which plays out in so much of what you do already. Like I feel like just that piece alone is much different from like you said, an everyday floral arrangement or
Yeah.
whatever that may look like. But
Yep.
it's been so cool just to like see that in general. And I just think that like you've like came out of the gate like going like absolutely 100% guns blazing, but that's how we do. Absolutely.
That's the move, yeah.
So it's like it's so cool to see like the projects that have come out and like even our collaboration, like
Yeah.
that floral, like doing that photo shoot. I was like, that's something I have never done before, but
Yeah.
I'm so interested in. And obviously, we've talked about some other things in the works
Yep.
coming to life, and
Stay
just
tuned.
stay tuned
Yes.
for how that may come together. But
Yeah.
it's just really freaking cool, and I'm super super proud of you for
Thank
like
you. Thank you.
handling that and like taking this business to the next level.
To the next
I love
level.
it.
I
love
know
it.
it's, and it's just funny because all the different avenues so far, to be honest, I haven't quite honed in on what the main direction is. But again, still in the learning phases of, I would like to, at least touch base or, expose myself to
Yeah.
multiple, avenues, just in the event that one hits more than the other. So that's kind of what this last year has been about.
Yeah.
So now it's really about tapping into more of what makes me me, and and kind of running with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. Speaking of like switching gears a little bit, but like speaking of things that like make you you, like you grew up in Pennsylvania, which
Yeah.
you call Pennsyltucky.
Pennsyltucky, the backwoods of
The
PA.
backwoods.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So like give us like a little bit of background of kind of what that was like for you and growing up there, and even into the transition of now where you've been in Denver for what, 10 plus years?
10 years.
10
yeah.
years. Yeah. So like give us a little bit of like backstory as to like maybe what that journey was like for you and who you've been able to come into a little bit now at this stage in your life.
Okay. Yeah. So the one thing I think that sticks out is growing up in the boonies, the backwoods of PA. It was, I think our town maybe had 7,000 people.
Wow.
So it was small. And so, the closest mall, movie theater, yada, yada, all of that stuff was a good half an hour, if not further away. So as far as, immediate joy or like things close to you, we the pool, spent a lot of time at the pool growing up, and then ended up on the swim team, and then coaching swim team, and the whole bit. And that was actually my first job out here,
Right.
Was franchise development for a swim school
Okay.
company. And so like that involved a lot of travel to some extent, which was great after I did build up to that point. So yeah, always loved being by the water. That was kind of just my thing growing up. And my mom's side of the family, all of our cousins, we lived like, some of us were on the same street. So we're like, we're always together,
Yeah.
So the thing that sticks out is just having to make your own fun, if that makes sense, right? Like you had to go out and actually have some sort of, brain to like
To make stuff
spark
happen.
some sort of joy.
Yeah.
And just like so taking, I guess, delight in like the small things, so just being able to, I mean, like building forts and like the whole bit, just like catching salamanders in the like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most people who know me here would be like, that does not sound like you at all.
Well,
That's
I mean,
like
you
a
just
weird,
said catching salamanders, and I was like, "Oh my
Catching
god,
what?"
what?"
So
Yeah.
just the we did a lot of camping growing up, a lot of boating, and like I said, by the water type stuff, and I always appreciate growing up in a smaller area because it really does teach you not only how to like come into your own and really just find what makes you happy, but also connect with people and be what I call like a real person. I don't know, like someone that's a little easier to maybe
more relatable person.
Potentially relatable, and even if it's not something that you've gone through that's even similar, it's just a lot of like less judgment maybe. I don't know, just I think some people who come from bigger areas, it gets to be a little, it's like they only know one thing, and then it's like that's kind of the background on that and what I was exposed
and like
to before.
I feel like that's one thing that we've connected on and that I really appreciate about my life too is like I grew up in a very small town, and like while I grew up in like Knoxville as the city, I grew up in a smaller town outside of Knoxville.
Close,
and like we like did that same thing, like made our own fun, like in the summertime, like, piling up in my mom's Nissan Altima and going to like get ice cream, like with the whole neighborhood, literally.
The little things. Just
so it's like those little things really kind of add up and like make you into the person that you ultimately become. And it is what I've learned along the way is that it's so much easier to connect and talk to people that have come from those smaller towns and like have also made something of themselves. Cause it's like, it could be very easy, as we both have realized and seen, like to stay, and there's no shame in that. It's just like, it's it's something crazier to be able to step out and say like, oh, I'm going to go do this, or, but
Yeah.
it is kind of cool to sit back as an adult and have those conversations with people that have come from smaller things.
Yeah, and I, no shade to or like, expectation
Right.
to have that be like a similar avenue for anyone who comes from like a larger area.
Right.
I think like where my head goes is to a place of where people like they almost have more expectations put on them, not within themselves, but maybe just like a quick little like, okay, oh, well, this is just not the norm, or this is not what's expected. So, how could I ever, like why does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just like held, a little bit more maybe accountable and exposed to certain things that, didn't allow for that avenue to even happen, I guess, if that makes sense, where it's like the blockage of,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and like for you, do you feel like, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but like, do you feel like your coming out experience being from a smaller town was harder? Was any specifics like on how that felt? To me, like, I don't know, like I don't necessarily want to say that it was harder, but
Yeah,
like
same. I
it
agree.
just
Yeah.
I feel like I surrounded myself with good people at that time in my life,
Yeah.
and so like for me, most people were like, "Oh yeah, we knew that already." You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
I know like that can also be a harder thing being in a small town. So I didn't know if your story had been different in coming out, or if you came out later, or kind of what that
Yeah,
looked like.
and it wasn't until I actually moved here that I actually, came out fully. There were a handful of friends that knew, from back home, and they would, even with me and me telling them, they were the ones that were like, "We already knew,"
Right. Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
"Thank you for sharing."
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of, I don't think it was harder. Like if I were to picture myself in a bigger city and just
Right.
doing the whole bit, potentially exposed to more people
Yeah.
who were going through something a little more similar, then and I guess more so a community who's exposed to more, right?
Yeah.
As well. So I think it was a hybrid in a sense of me sharing with people from back home but not being back home when I shared it,
Right.
if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was, my mom, like I made a visit, and at this point my parents were split up, but I shared, in real time, a real conversation with her in a visit shortly after moving out here. And then my dad, since I didn't get a chance to see him as much that trip, and
Yeah.
he's a little more old school and less likely to be like already knew and all is good. So I think that part for me was very, well, let me just call him and see what his thoughts are, and then we can like go from there.
Yeah.
Kind of like maybe a little bit of a easy way out in a sense, to some people, but for me that's just what worked. And he's a man of very few words anyways. So I think his response was something similar to I heard that might be the case, as far as like, people from a small town were getting around and something being shared. And he's like, and they just went into love you either way and, obviously support you and, all is good. So that was a huge relief. I was not quite expecting the same reaction. But I think I'll chalk it up to not any harder, coming from a small town, but so I think like any of us who have had to have that convo or wanted to, it's kind of all been even keel. Just right there, we're all just like trying to share the message and make it happen, right? And make sense of it in our own minds at the same time as we are trying to teach it or share it, educate and expose it to others. So
Well, and I feel like the cool thing about where you are now, where I am now, is like we get that opportunity to kind of show younger generations below us that like we can come out of these smaller towns and make something of ourselves. And like being queer in general is hard, but especially being queer right now as a youth aged kid or just middle school, high school, like it's gotten easier, but it's still very hard. So for people that queer youth that may be listening, or just anyone that this may touch, it's like you can look at a life to older people who have been where you are and be like, wow, like they were able to make it out of that. Like I can make it out, and I think that's always been my biggest message with what I've been doing is like, someone yesterday from high school like reached out to me on Instagram, and they were just like, you are like walking and living in exactly what I would have wanted you to be walking in, and like that's
awesome.
That's like a cool moment to be like, it's like I wanted to live this authentic life. I wanted to come from like where I grew up, and yes, it was hard. Yes, there were struggles, all of that. But like now I've been able to come to the other side and like share with younger kids, younger people below us that are like, do what you want to do. And it may not be like the journey that you thought it would be, or it may not be easy, but it's obtainable. You know?
Well, and I think, as you were saying earlier, just about the difference in, especially the kids nowadays, right? If sometimes I have moments where I'm like, that terrifies me even more. Like, in what world is it more difficult to share and feel comfortable sharing and like get through some of these things when people are at least already educated to some extent, way more than what anyone was when we were, growing up. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes like, ooh, I'm kind of happy in a way that, when I was going through it, there wasn't so much like limelight on it. Just like, because now even, like I said, with the education and more people either, educating themselves or at least open to it, it just feels almost more difficult, for this generation coming up. But
well, and they are exposed to so much more now, and I feel like they are just in a place where everything is instantaneous, and like coming from my background, like, and when we grew up like on dial-up internet and all of that, you know what I mean?
ICQ,
like waiting for someone to get off the phone so you could get back to what you were doing. Download LimeWire illegally, download music illegally.
Oh no!
But it is like so crazy to like know that they just have so much more access, which also means they have a higher access to people either bullying them the hate or like the things that come with all of that. And it's just that part I don't love that, because I feel like it takes away from just being able to live maybe a little more authentically, because it's like, well, you're waiting for someone that you go to school with to like tear you down, or you're waiting for that to like become a reality for you, and then like you have to go back to school and deal with that, and so it's like, it's interesting, like coming where we've come from, and just to see the transitions over time, to see how things really pan out for not only us, but like for youth as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's almost like just the ability to, have devices that make it much easier to share, right? But then, like you said, the backlash of just as quick as you're able to upload something, someone else is going to be just as quick to, tear it down. And so that, in a sense, overall, collectively, the message is still not really being, I guess taken in a sense of like acceptance and whatever else. It's still like there's still a lot of like backlash and hate. So it's much easier to share your life story, or at least something about yourself, to kind of just like feel like you're coming into more of your own. But then again, 2 minutes later or less, someone could see that and just really dig in. So
But I think that's what makes it so important about you and I, like us living our authentic lives and us being as fully ourselves as we can be, because then it allows people who listen, who watch, who view us as like someone who's made it, quote unquote, like for them to have hope in that for themselves. And I would say that to anyone that grew up where I grew up in Tennessee, like, just keep going. Like, it really does get better. It's just a matter of like having the strength and the willpower to be like, this is just a blimp in time. And trust me, that blimp goes away. And then most of those people stay stagnant where they are and will just continue being bullies for the rest of their life. But for the most part, you can live a very rich, as far as like rich in like friends, rich in family, rich in just like what you surround yourself with, that kind of life along the way.
And I feel like we have multiple convos about that, right? Like the company you keep, right? And just the energy within that. And, you know, not everyone has to be fully on the same page, but at the same time, there's still that level of consistent like support and yeah, and just like love all around, right?
Yeah.
So I was, you know, I did like a interview maybe like 3 weeks ago, but it, you know, I've had this on my Insta for a while, my personal, but I always share something along the lines of like surround yourself with those who help create change, right? So it's just like, I don't know, just something to really dive into, you know, okay, internally, like if I really like think about the people I spend my time with and am I like drained when I hang out with them, or am I like, do I feel, you know, better about myself and our connection and just, you know, what we're doing? And it doesn't have to be someone that you're collabing with or, you know, on a professional level. We're talking just friendships, right? Just like people that you actually enjoy spending time with, you know, so.
Well, and that's the biggest thing of just becoming an adult and getting to a place where like you really do. I know everyone talks about protecting your energy and protecting the things around you, but it really does become such an important piece as an adult, but also an important piece as a creative, because I feel like the more creative you are, like all that outside energy really takes a toll on you when you're already giving out your energy. You know what I mean? And it's like you have to be able to come from a place as a creative to have like a clear mindset. And like if you're surrounded by people that, you know, share that same thought process and share that same like liking to want to be at a peaceful place with their world around them, then it does ultimately allow your craft to get better and for you to get better. And we've talked about that so many times. It's like I want to be in a place where not only like my personal life is peaceful, but the people that I talk to and share stories with, like that we're at peace, and that you know there's a level at which we can just all exist and do our thing, but like support each other. And there's so much of that as an energy that I feel like we always need, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just kind of what I, you know, whether it's 10 years ago before I even got here or just a few years ago, you know, after something like the pandemic even, you know, it's just like shedding more light on who you want to surround yourself with and what really just like brings you that joy and is going to like help, you know, continue that energy and like pave the way to something bigger than what you thought, you know, initially. So it's a lot of like movement on that over the last few years, but it's all felt like it's made sense, you know.
What do you feel like has been like the biggest growth in yourself over the last 10 years, like coming into Denver? Do you feel like there's been anything that's really been something that's really stuck out to you since moving here, especially like from Pennsyltucky? But like, is there something that you feel like Denver has given to you or brought to you that's really shown growth in yourself, do you feel like?
I guess balance, you know, just a way better handle on balance and something that I call like the pick and choose of like, you know, yes, there's like we, you know, have always talked as well, just the FOMO elements of things where it's just like, okay, well, this group is, you know, someone that I hang out with a lot and they're doing ABC, whatever. And like, if I don't make it to this one, am I going to get the invite to the next? You know, little things like that, which don't hold as much weight anymore. So it is a lot of, you know, yes, I will still make time. And, you know, at the end of the day, if we're close enough, you know, we'll figure something out. But just the ability to say no a little more to some social things, and then also tap into, just being able to enjoy more of the outdoors. And I mean, you know, my transition from here to Colorado, yes, I had a lot of that exposure back home to some extent, but you know, this is like a whole new world of other things that, you know, you can kind of just involve yourself in. So, just being able to take a quick drive to the mountains and escape and have, you know, almost like a creative session for yourself to just like take a step back and really just, you know, dial into some of that. And then also the, you know, the hustle and bustle of like, you know, working a side gig and like a full-time job and, you know, this project, that project, whatever, and social life too. So the balance has been a huge like change for me.
I love that.
Which has been nice. Yeah. So,
well, and balance comes with like, you know, you have to find what that looks like to you. You have to find like what, you know, that new life that you kind of build around it too, because if you don't have balance, then you're just kind of throwing yourself into a million things, which we've both experienced along the way, of just like feeling like there's no grounding moment. But like balance is such a huge part of that. And I was actually like having this conversation the other day of like, I feel like since I've moved to Denver, like I've been here 6 years, I feel like I've lived 1,000 different lives. Like literally, I feel like I've literally lived so many lives since I've lived here. But I also appreciate all of it, because I think in each of those chapters I learned something new. And I think that that's all that you could want from living anywhere and living life in general. If you're not growing or learning, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So it's funny to like look at all the various different things and different friend groups and different relationships and all of that. And sometimes it can be like, oh, like it can become sad a little bit, but also it can become like, wow, like I grew and learned so much from that scenario. You know?
Like you were saying, you know, a chapter or a season, right? You know, there are going to be people and places and things. No, but like, you know, just the whole bit,
Come on,
right?
Dr. Seuss.
Right. Don't get me started. No, but just, you know, that kind of energy
fish,
where it's
blue
like
fish, red fish, green fish. What is that book?
You mean one fish, two fish?
Yes.
You about to spill the whole rainbow, just like talking colors.
Literally.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Okay, let's speaking of laughter and having fun, let's switch it up for a second.
Okay.
So I think that as best friends, we should play a little game. And I think because of that, it will be fun, because it'll be a little game called How Close Are You? Okay. So it's not going to be crazy. I promise. You're looking at me like you're about to sweat and have a whole conniption. It's not that serious.
I'm probably already sweating. Or red.
No, it's
or
not
red.
that deep.
One of the two.
It's not that deep. It's going to be very simple.
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm going to ask a question, and then we both have to take a minute, or not a minute, because we don't have that long. But we have to guess what it's going to be.
A moment of silence.
A moment of silence. Okay. So first question is, and again, how close are you? So we're going to really find this out, because we're probably going to really screw these up. But that's okay. So what's my favorite color? Do you know?
It's hot pink.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite color is turquoise. No? Wrong? Orange?
I mean, really any shade of like green. Green is like
okay, yeah. I was like seafoam, turquoise.
But now that you did say that, because that's like kind of a hybrid of the two, right?
Yeah.
Corey and like, you know, others who are close to me, they're like, you wear a lot of blue.
Yes.
And so they're like, or turquoise. So they're like, you know, that's got to be it. But they're like, but then you tell people green. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't wear a lot of green, but it is green. I promise you, like green.
Oh no! So then you're gonna be like our other friend Dexter, who's colorblind.
Oh, poor Dex.
I love you, Dexter, so much. If you're listening, but no, literally, like you wear like seafoam.
So you're technically
turquoise.
right, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah. So like,
okay. Okay. When we go out, what is my favorite drink?
Yours is mine. And it's espresso martini.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, and also we do love a good margarita night. That's
that's true. That's true. Okay.
Like, it could go either way. It's like when we meet up, we say, what's our vibe tonight?
That's probably, you're right. That's probably your individual, like, if we do like solo missions on what we're drinking, yours is probably margarita over mine.
Marg, though.
Spicy
marg. And like, I don't want my esophagus set on fire, but like, give it to me straight.
Give me a little heat.
Yeah,
a little something.
That's a good one. Oh, I do. Speaking of espresso martinis, we have had our journey on them, and so shout out to any Denver business who needs anyone to test your espresso martinis.
We are ready.
We will gladly show up and do that for you, because we are always on the hunt for our favorite one. I think we found one of our favorite spots. Mine is Woody Fisher.
Yeah, okay.
That was one of mine.
Yeah, Woody Fisher.
Yeah. There's so many other ones.
D-Bar was really great. Yeah.
D-Bar. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're ever visiting Denver, please go to D-Bar. That's
D-Bar for sure.
A place to go for espresso martinis. They have like a salted caramel one that will literally make you want to slap your mother in the best way.
Whatever that hybrid was, where we're like, can we, like, there are two separate drinks here. Can we just make a little hybrid of something like, and I think it was like a salted caramel, like whatever, but that was yeah, that one was probably my fave. Woody Fisher though too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Next question. Favorite outdoor activity? Ooh.
I'm sharing yours, right?
Okay, you share mine. Yeah.
Paddleboarding.
Yes.
Okay.
Work.
I was like, is it still? I feel like
Paddleboarding. Yours I feel like is hiking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You're like a big summer hiker, which weirdly enough, in the time that we have been friends, we've still not gone on a hike together.
Like
I don't
a full,
know how that's possible. Like
we've gone paddleboarding and some of the other things, but not. Yeah, I guess we haven't.
Yeah. I mean, my summer, I love Horsetooth Reservoir. That is like my freaking go-to paddleboard all summer long. Like, that's another shout out. If you're ever visiting Colorado, go to Horsetooth, go paddleboarding. You won't regret it. It's absolutely amazing.
Beautiful. Yes. Great time.
Absolutely love that. What is your favorite? No. I did ask that already in a roundabout way. I already asked you like your color because we went to turquoise.
Yeah.
Your favorite moment shared with me. That's not necessarily like how well do you know each other, but one of your favorite.
Are we gonna see if it like matches up?
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have to have like answers locked in and like share them with?
Yeah. Let's see like what one of your it doesn't have to be like the favorite, but one of your favorites.
Do I have a favorite?
Oh, no, do you have a favorite?
Okay, I think. Wait, I always have to dig real deep with these because this is important.
It's very important.
This is huge.
It's gonna really determine the trajectory of the rest of our friendship for years to come. How you answer this question.
Now the more the pressure further is like no. Okay, so I'm gonna say one of the first times that we actually hung out, which was for a Pride like party.
Yeah.
Just I think like knowing of each other and then like having some combos in like group setting and then fully being able to hang out more one-on-one and just and just like share life and chat like we are now kind of thing. So we're talking that was I don't even know.
It's been like
4 or 5
4 years now at this point.
4, right? At least. Yeah. So I would say that I think that's mine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that the what were you thinking?
No,
of?
mine I think is just we've shared first and foremost, we've shared so many, so it's like how do you pick one? But digging I feel like one of my ultimate favorites is like it always goes back to drinking and like it's not
or
supposed
like
to
being out or
being out, but it's like I think in general have had just so many nights that have just like been full of fun because that's who we are when we go out.
Yeah.
Like, and one of them is my 30th birthday because of literally shout out once again to Woody Fisher because those espresso martinis were next level. I don't know what was in them. We're still questioning. Myself, you, Summer, and Reagan are all wondering. We would love to know what was in them.
Yeah.
But I feel like just that sticks out to me in general because it was just full of just fun and laughter and joy, which is like what I love to bring to the table always. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, that was just, certainly a moment and just being able to, whether there were like several of us or just like a group, like smaller group, we were just having a great time. And it just took, dinner and then that espresso martini just like took the energy to next level. So, obviously dancing and whatever else after. So it was just like a nice, definitely a nice moment for sure.
Yeah. But we've shared so many. So like even saying that on the spot, I'm like, as soon as we get off this podcast, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I should have said that one. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. But in kind of like wrapping up today, I wanted to ask you one kind of final question just in regards to Blume Box itself. So like in the next like, I don't know, 6 months to a year, any of that time frame, like what is it that you really see going forward for Blume Box? Like what is it that maybe your vision or like are your visions already coming to life? Are you seeing them happen in real time? Like what do you really see happening for your floral business going forward?
I think and I think it's kind of starting, but not fully there yet. So I would love to see a full-blown contract with Ballerina or Paramount or some or like AEG and Red Rocks kind of thing. So and that's kind of just been people sharing the word and and hopefully getting more exposure on that. So I think my mindset is just really cranking out some of these special projects and collabs to really like reach that point fully. So, you know, yes, I've had some of that already, not to the full extent, but I do see, ideally, obviously, I get rid of my day job and kind of just stick with this 100%. So it is kind of a, you know, still listed as like side gig, which a lot of people also don't know or, you know, even think is
Right.
is in the making at this point. So it's like, you know, very much still, yeah, trying to really hone in on which avenues I want to stick with, and really just, yeah, full force get after it. So
Yeah.
so yeah,
Well, and it's like I feel like you're already on that path. I mean, to
Yeah.
be able to already do kind of these collaborations with Ballerina and Paramount, and then to have the artists that you've been able to work with already, like
Yeah.
such a really, really cool experience. And I know
Thank
like
you.
these things that are already happening are huge, and I feel like the next big chapters just beginning, you know.
Yeah.
And then, and I've always said, like, you know, when I'm out there doing bigger things, I want to do us some floral collabs
Yeah,
along the way.
100%. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's like I love that, and it's like I love that our friendship has been able to mold this creative process together in a way, and to be able to be like, you know, I'm doing my drag thing, you're doing the floral thing, and in some crazy way they both intersect,
Yeah,
and they actually
come
really
together.
help each other.
Yeah, right.
They actually really go hand in hand. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see, it's cool to watch, and I just am like so proud of you that you've really
Thank you.
stepped out on your own to do this and to really go after it, because a lot of people get in their head about what they want and the direction they want to go, but you have chosen to look past it and say, I'm here, you know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
So
Back at you for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, just being able to, I don't know, take that moment to say, hey, you know, I could have all of these other things kind of tossed my way that are sharing no or, you know, cause you to hesitate. But I think like, yeah, just having you kind of power through some of that too has been obviously inspiring, you know, even as your friend, just to
Yeah.
kind of see some of that growth and yeah, and keep it moving, you know,
Right.
manifesting all the things.
we are manifesting some really big
Some
things,
big things,
right
yeah.
about now. So it's like, yeah, I know that that's really, really, really helpful to have, you know, and this is kind of just a shout out to, or just to say to everyone listening, like, surround yourself with good people, surround yourself with meaningful relationships, whether that be, you know, a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, friendships. Like, make sure that the people that you surround yourself with are uplifting you and
Yep.
giving you strength, and you know, just giving you that extra step in
Yeah.
pushing you forward. Because if you surround yourself with people that just don't have your best interest in mind, it's ultimately not going to help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And that saying that goes around of like, show me who your closest friends are and I'll show you who you are, like, that's so real. And
Yep.
it's such a big thing. And the more that you continue to find those good people in your life, the better your life becomes. And I
Absolutely.
think that a lot of people lose sight in, you know, the weekend partying friends and the people that they just have so much fun with. And those are great. But it's like, at the end of the day, who are you going to call at 2 or 3 a.m. when you're really struggling, when you're really going
Yeah.
through it? Like, who's going to have your back, you
Yep.
know? And so I would say to anyone who even might be feeling alone right now, or just feeling like your friendships are changing and you're in this huge shift, like, have patience. The
Yep.
right people will make their way to you, but you first of all have to let go of the people not meant for you. So it can be a lot easier said than done,
Yes.
as we have seen
Of
and gone
course.
through
Yeah.
ourselves. But make
Yep.
sure that those friendships, you know, really, really matter and really count at the end of the day. Because
Yeah.
we've definitely been able to find that, and it's important to find those who really have your back.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Agreed. Yeah.
and one of the really last questions I have for you is kind of, everyone I ask this question, the cash talks question, you know. So, you know, if money wasn't a factor in your life, if cash could talk in any sort of way, no matter what it looked like for you, like, what change would you make? What would you do with, you know, with the non-form of money that doesn't exist? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what would that look like for you to really make heavy change?
There would certainly be way more frequent floral drops because, you know,
Absolutely.
then I could just, you know, no money spent, bring in whatever and share it. And then I don't know, maybe taking that on to like kind of like an international thing, and just
Yeah.
like, you know, within travels, kind of exposing people that way as well. And by exposing, I mean like more so sharing the art, like once again, and just really,
Because how beautiful it is of how huge floral is as an art form. Like,
yeah,
wow.
and across the world,
Yeah,
right? So it's
yeah.
like, you know, I've already, I don't know, I had moments where I'm like, oh, when I travel somewhere, I would love to, you know, go to one of their shops, or, you know, somewhere where I can pick up something that I'm not normally going to get here, right? And create something and kind of just share that there too, you know, just putting, I don't know, putting smiles on people's faces with like free stuff, like,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
free floral would be amazing if, you know, at the end of the day, if that were like, you know, the case fully for in some of these situations, right? But so I think that's what I would,
Do.
way more frequent drops and just like exposure to some of that.
An
So
exploration like around the world.
yeah,
too.
exactly. Just like, yeah, taking that from, you know, from Denver to my travels elsewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that so much. Well, B, thank you so much for joining me today, for just being here, for being that loyal ride or die friend. It really, like, it means a lot, especially right now in a lot of the transitions happening in my life, and just so much happening. It means the world to just have your friendship and your love. And I am so
course.
proud of you. I know I
Thank
said
you.
that already, but I really, really am. And I can't wait to see what Blume Box has in store. There are big
Yes.
things happening for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And back at you. So
Yeah.
thanks for having me. And
Absolutely. Well, plug yourself, give the people a little bit of knowledge of where
Oh,
they can
gosh.
find you on the
Okay.
grams.
So yeah, mainly just the grams.
Yeah,
I
just the
guess.
grams.
No Facebook, as I said earlier, and
Yeah.
then X and the website things.
Yeah.
So yeah, Blume Box .by.b. So yeah, it's we're in the works of maybe switching some of that up a little
Yeah.
bit, but
Yeah.
really just Instagram and the website, to be honest, right now. So
And that's
with
Blume
the-
Box, BLUME.
Yes, not
yes.
BLOOM. Yes, that was already taken, and it's something completely different. So,
Absolutely.
so that's really
well,
it.
and I'll be tagging you on this episode and all the things, and so
Yeah.
they'll be able to find you, no doubt.
I was gonna say we'll attach it.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you all so much for listening today. I appreciate every single one of you for your continued love, your continued support. I hope that you got a little something, a little floral action out of this episode today. And I am just so excited to be joining you back here soon from Dude IDK Studios. In the meantime, keep spreading joy, keep spreading love, and we'll see you again soon. Peace and love.
That's it.